It would be so easy to close the space between them. Last year, that was exactly what Abby would have done. Lynn would have leaned in too, and they would have kissed, and everything would have been perfect. No need for pining or pretending. But this wasn't last year, so Abby forced herself to keep talking instead. No, but in France, calling someone your flea is the same as calling them, like, sweetie or something. You wrote a poem about how much you adore your sweet pet flea? Lynn grinned. Basically. Their faces were still only inches apart, but Lynn had made no effort to move away. Was Abby imagining it, or was there some decidedly non-platonic tension in the air this afternoon? When they'd broken up, back in June, Abby had been sure it was temporary. They were both going out of town for the summer, Lynn to visit family in Vietnam, and Abby to create a writing camp in Massachusetts. But once they were back home in D.C., she was positive they'd put their summer of breakup behind them. So far, though, there had been no definitive progress in that direction. Sometimes the two of them still acted mildly flirty with each other, and sometimes they acted like friends. But since Lynn never gave any clear signals of what she wanted, they seemed stuck in this constant awkward limbo. And so, once again, Abby kept talking. It was the only term of endearment I could find that was always female. Abby tried to sound breezy. You know how I was back then, all about the gay. Oh, as opposed to now? Lynn smiled again. Okay, this really, really felt like flirting, and more than just the mild kind. Abby loved flirting almost as much as she loved kissing. She loved all the trappings of romance, sending flowers on Valentine's Day, picking each other up for dances, posing for coupley selfies and going for long walks in the park hand in hand on sunny afternoons. And being held. Abby loved being held most of all. She should know better than to get her hopes up. It had been months since there was anything romantic between her and Lynn. Still... Well, I have a more nuanced understanding of gendered nouns these days. Abby held her gaze. She remembered how to flirt, too. I'm still all about the gay, though. Obviously. Lynn laughed again. So when's your project plan due, anyway? Ugh, who cared about the stupid project plan? Abby broke eye contact. She flopped back against the couch, and the moment between them evaporated in an instant. Everything had been going so well. Why did Lynn have to keep asking about her project? Sometimes Abby wished she went to one of those schools you saw in shows, where everyone cut class and no one cared about homework. I keep forgetting. Abby turned away. I just need to pick my genre. What? You don't even know when it's due? Lynn's tone shifted from flirty to concerned. Do you seriously not have any ideas at all? Abby squirmed, but this time she didn't laugh. Fawcett was a magnet school, and all the seniors had to do a year-long thesis project. Lynn was doing a big, complicated experiment Abby didn't understand for her molecular techniques and neuroscience research class, and Abby had chosen to do hers in advanced creative writing. She was supposed to write a novel, or a collection of short stories or poems that was long enough to be a novel. Usually, for Abby, coming up with creative writing ideas meant choosing from the dozens of possibilities that had already been circling through her mind. This time, though, she was at a loss. The creative part of her brain had fizzled sometime around the day she and Lynn broke up. Or maybe her entire brain had fizzled. That would explain a lot, come to think of it. Lately, Abby seemed incapable of remembering anything she was supposed to do except obsess over her ex. This is a big deal, Abby. Lynn sat up, putting way too much space between them. I turned in my plan 2 weeks ago. If you don't get started soon, how will you have time left for your college applications? I know. Abby tried to think of some explanation that would get Lynn off her back. My brother's been sucking up all my time lately. I keep having to take him to dance class since my parents are always out of town. The truth was, just thinking about college applications made her shudder. She hated how competitive everyone got over that stuff, as though they were all suddenly reduced to SATs and GPAs and other quantitative acronyms that had nothing to do with who they really were. And the essays weren't any better.